Hi everyone, my name's Amanda Brannon. I am in Food and Faith at Newman University. This is my final project in Food and Faith, and I have decided to do my project on Tyson Food Incorporation. I found a lot of information that goes back several years on certain controversies, so I decided to pick out a few that happened back a couple years ago and some that are currently happening today. I'll begin with my thesis. I'll give a brief history on why I decided to pick Tyson Food Incorporation and why I find them immoral overall as a company. And then I will take a look at the opposing arguments. Every person has an opinion, so I will be sure to mention that. And then I will give an ethical standpoint at the end, supporting my claim once again. So this is my first time doing a YouTube video, especially one that's 10 minutes long. So viewers, please be nice. And if you have any questions, please just leave some comments below. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's get started. Now I'm sure most of you have heard of Tyson Food Incorporation, anywhere from your local grocery store or restaurants that you eat at. They're most likely buying Tyson product because it is a multinational corporation. They are the second largest meat processing company in the nation. They provide a lot of different varieties of beef, pork, poultry. They just have a lot. They're very well known. So that's why, in part, I liked to do my project on Tyson, because they are such a large corporation, and I was curious to see what critics had to say about them. The first thing that I typed in on the internet was Tyson Food, and the 2008 controversy of antibiotics in their poultry was the first thing to pop up on the web. And I had no idea. I don't know where I was. I don't remember it being a controversy, but apparently, huge deal. Then I did some more research, and I later found out that now they're actually doing an antibiotic-free poultry line, production line, which is awesome. And I'll get into that later in the brief history section, but that's something that I found that was very interesting and I wanted to do some more research on. So I thought, of course, my thesis is going to be that they're moral in their decisions because they're making a change from something immoral. Unfortunately, I did more research, and my thesis changed with more research because issues are still occurring with Tyson Food, and that is the mistreatment of their animals. I am specifically looking at their chickens because of the antibiotic use and, how they've changed one thing, but they haven't continued to change other things. So that's where my thesis comes in, where, yes, they are going antibiotic-free, which is in the right direction of being moral. However, as an entire corporation, they are not necessarily moral overall. Due to the unjust conditions of their chickens, and that's pretty much my argument. I will go into my brief history section so I can give some more background information, and then I'll go into my basis for my argument. Alright, so for the brief history, this is just a section that I want to get into, talking about the antibiotic usage back in 2008. I think it's important to talk about because it is something that was a big controversy, and I think that in order for me to continue on with the mistreatment of animals, I should give a little brief history on the use of antibiotics. So Tyson became a subject of matter after being accused of misleading labels on their poultry product. The company explained that their product was natural and was indeed antibiotic-free. However, an article done by NBC in 2008 had stated, in contrast to information presented by Tyson Foods, Inc., inspectors found that they routinely used the antibiotic gentamicin to prevent illness and death in chicks, which raises public health concerns. If any of you aren't familiar with this antibiotic, gentamicin is a potent antibiotic given to humans if an infection has occurred. And it seems that the production facility of Tyson wanted to prevent infection from occurring in their own livestock. So, simply put, the eggs were given the antibiotic before the eggs would hatch. But the main problem was that the drug remained in the chick system for several weeks after the first injection. The United States Department of Agriculture became involved in the matter once lawsuits were becoming a developing issue for the false advertisement and the misrepresentation of their product on food labels. So that was the controversy back in 2008. Since then, like I mentioned before, they have resolved that problem by no longer using antibiotics in their chicken. So I mentioned the antibiotic usage not only because it was a huge deal then and still is, and people haven't forgotten about the chemicals being found by the inspectors in the investigation, but I bring it to your attention because it kind of helps in the direction I'm hoping to lead you in my argument. I'm trying to explain that, yes, Tyson made a dramatic change in using chemicals in their poultry. However, I actually found an article stating by Maria Godoy that it's easier to make the switch away from antibiotics with chickens because the animals have a relatively short life cycle. A broiler can reach market weight in less than 2 months, while hogs and cattle take a lot longer. This was done in 2014. So if you're not familiar with a broiler chicken, it's raised to slaughter, which means even if the chicken's being antibiotic free, it does not necessarily mean that their living conditions are better sufficed, which they're not. These chickens' living conditions, the chickens' conditions are awful, and not many camera crew have been allowed to go in there because Tyson is worth a lot of money and they paid their employees to keep quiet and keep production going. I mean, back to the antibiotic use, it was stated that close to 80% of the chicken production companies have made tremendous attempts to become antibiotic free. But when an outbreak of infection or deadly chickens become a problem, they resort back to using gentamicin. So these companies like Tyson are able to label their product as being natural and antibiotic free. However, they don't state the process from being hatched to when they are being slaughtered. It's stretching the truth and bending the rules, and the public is being fooled in a sense. The whole point of this video is for my viewer to decipher whether they support the decision that I have made on claiming Tyson to be immorally correct in their actions. So I went to Tyson's website, read a couple articles, and there were a few things that stood out to me. So I wanted to put this for my opposing argument. Specifically, I read that automation helps feed and water the chickens. Birds can drink from these drinkers that dispense water with a push of a button. Automatic feeders keep the specially formulated feed coming when the birds begin to eat. When I read specially formulated feed, I think of the amount of cornmeal and seed that they make these chickens eat to fatten them up, make them meatier before slaughter. So that one was hard for me to read. And then the birds are raised in a large house designed to keep the birds as comfortable as possible. In the winter, their thermostatically controlled heaters keep the birds warm. In the summer, automatic fans and motor-driven curtains keep the air moving. Also, water misters overhead keep the birds cool using evaporation. Now, that's hard for me to believe because a lot of the farmhouses are pitch black. They never see daylight. I don't believe they're comfortable in any climate that they're in. It's just inhumane, just the conditions that they make them live in. Then I also read that the cages that the chickens are in are sometimes filled from 3 to 10 chickens in one cage, and they're given the size of a piece of paper, an 8 by 11, to one chicken. So that means they'll never get to spread their wings, ever. They are just completely confined. And if they were to break something, if they were to get caught in the wire or the cages, they're not going to be able to reach their automatic feeders because they can't get up and they have other chickens walking on top of them. If they're down, they're dead. So they just can't access the food or the water, and it's a really sad reality. And also think, if this is automatic feeding, how many times do you think humans go in there to check them? So of course, a lot of chickens are going to die because they're not being properly taken care of. Now, I know my opposing argument isn't allowing all sides to speak for themselves. I'm sure that Tyson would be glad to comment on my video and explain how they're making efforts to change their conditions. But I mean, it's not just chickens. You should see the videos of the crates that they use for their pigs. It is sad. I mean, you can look it up anywhere on the internet. It would break your heart. It's hard to defend a company when you have live footage of the conditions that they're allowing. They could fight back and say that they are making attempts and that slowly changing from antibiotics to antibiotic-free, and how Chick-fil-A and Chipotle are joining in, and since they're a large brand corporation, that they're getting everyone else to jump on board, and that's great. But if you have that much money and that much power and that fast of a production line, things need to be done quickly and more ethically. When I mean ethically, I mean right from wrong. I mean, these people that work for Tyson, farmers, consumers, we are all capable to know the difference between right and wrong. And when you see these videos and read the statistics of these animals being tortured constantly, we know that it is inhumane and it's not right, and conditions need to be taken more seriously. We show our respect for the Creator by our stewardship of creation. That is Catholic social teaching. We are God's creation, and every creation of God has a purpose. And it is our job as the creations to take a stand and defend his existence on earth and glorify him. As children, we have the natural law theory instilled in us, like I had mentioned before. We show our respect to God by understanding that these teachings not only are a religious basis, but it's more of a common nature to defend something living. And to treat it humanely. And that's not what Tyson is doing. They may not be lying about some things, and they may not be aware of certain things going on at other farms, but doing nothing is worse than condoning it. And I feel as if they're doing both. They're lying and they're doing nothing. So that's my argument. I find that many people are going to differ with me and argue with me, but it's all a matter of opinion, and it really comes down to the public making a stand and truly defending these animals and getting them to be in better living conditions. I honestly believe that these chickens would not need antibiotics as much as they say they do if they were free-ranged, experiencing life as a chicken, being outside, spreading their wings, and just, living as long as they can until it's their time on the food chain. I understand that vegans and vegetarians and animal activists most likely will just say no animal killing 100%. But I mean, I do agree that food is something created for us from God, and I just think that it's our job to acknowledge that and respect it. So that's my argument on their product, but they're not being entirely truthful in how they're raising their animals. They're bending the rules in a sense. And let's see if that makes sense. Standards or protocols from an Hi, I'm a Tyson chicken. I hate where I live. Oh, I haven't been injected yet. Yay me! Oh, but you will soon, because once you start coughing, they'll inject you.